Welcome to YogiViews, where my guest is yoga itself, through interviewing those who practice it, teach it, sell it, or simply love it. I am Antonio Saucis. While yoga is being practiced nowadays at gyms and yoga studios, there are more committed ways of practicing that offer the possibility of living a yogic life in the company of a dedicated community and under the guidance of swamis and gurus. This ancient form of practicing has been present throughout most of yoga's history, and it still stands today. I refer to what's offered in an ashram, a specific facility entirely dedicated to yoga's lifestyle. I was recently invited to present at the Sivananda Ashram Yoga Farm in Grass Valley, California, where I was able to bring a camera with me so I could show you this great place. The ashram was founded in 1971 by Swami Vishnu-devananda, a direct disciple of Swami Sitarmananda, who trusted him to spread the good word and practice of yoga in the West. The Yoga Farm, as Swami Vishnu-devananda nicknamed the ashram, remained his favorite place for personal retreat and is where he wrote meditation and mantras. It sits on 40 acres of land located in the Gold Country at the beautiful Sierra Nevada foothills in Northern California. For almost 20 years, the ashram remained in its original state, a farmhouse and pond surrounded by rolling hills and majestic oaks, saturated with the songs of wildlife. Sivananda Yoga is one of the world's largest schools of yoga that calls for the rigorous application of yoga postures, breathing exercises, relaxation, vegetarian diet, and study of scriptures. Yoga practitioners are increasingly aware of deeper and subtler aspects of classical yoga teachings and seek a retreat where they can deepen their practice, renew their inspiration, and further educate themselves. The Sivananda Yoga Ashram responds by maintaining a pure atmosphere in a beautiful environment, an oasis of peace in a chaotic world where people from all walks of life can come together to practice yoga, meditation, and get in touch with their true divine self. It is a spiritual, non-sectarian, non-profit organization run entirely by dedicated yoga teachers who selflessly teach this ancient system. The ashram has been renovated over the past years to better accommodate the demand for yoga, meditation, and immersion in nature. The facility includes the Brahmavidya Yoga Hall, where the daily satsang routine takes place twice a day, consisting of meditation, chanting, and a speech, where words about the essential truths of yoga are shared. A resident calls the visitors to satsang, ringing a bell and walking to all corners of the ashram so no one misses it. The yoga classes are taught in this hall, as well as in an adjacent indoor hall or an outdoor wooden deck. There are also 3 outdoor temples in the ashram: the Shiva temple up in the hills, the Krishna temple by the pond, where practitioners can relate to yoga icons representing some of the spiritual attributes that yoga develops and that are organized in an altar, and also includes a ceremonial fire pit. The other is the Durga temple, a temple that, as I've heard, was dear to Swami Vishnu-devananda's heart. The accommodations include several cabins on the hills and some new deluxe shanty cabins for the attendees, keeping to the spirit of simple living and high thinking. Residents live in more modest cabins or in tents, a possibility that is also available to the visitors. A vegetable garden provides the ingredients for an on-site vegetarian kitchen where the daily meals are prepared. Then it is up to the attendees to choose between eating at the dining hall or on comfortable tables outdoors that allow for eating with others or in solitude and silence. The ashram programs also bring in modern ideas and current well-known teachers. They go anywhere from beginners' weekends, where those new to yoga are introduced to the discipline, to in-depth courses to study the yoga philosophy and the deeper technical aspects of the discipline. The ashram has become a flourishing spiritual institution whose presence is known locally, nationally, and internationally, and for the past 2 decades has been directed by Swami Sitarmananda, an ordained sannyasin in the lineage of Saraswati, one of the 10 classical monastic orders founded in India. She is a direct disciple of Swami Vishnu-devananda and was gracious enough to respond to my questions up in her living space in the following interview.
Swami Sita, thank you very much for giving us this interview. It's been a pleasure to be at the ashram that you direct, and I would like to ask you, what was your first experience in yoga? How did you meet yoga for the first time?
I was a social worker in Canada, Montreal, and I was burnt out. And someone told me to go to the ashram, and I went, and I did not know what is an ashram, what is yoga, who is Swami Vishnu, nothing. So my first experience was a weekend in the ashram, Val-Morin, Quebec, Canada, and I was supposed to stay there 3 days. I stayed only 2 days because I said, and people asked me, how was it? And I said, well, the food was good. The people were kind of nice. The exercise is excellent. But I'm not sure. The religious people, the orange people, the chanting mantra, I'm not sure this is for me. So that was my beginning. I met Swami Vishnu-devananda at that time, but I did not know what to expect. I did not know. And then I went back home, and then the mantra chanting just keep following me. So I was thinking, what is it that you listen just for 2 days and you just cannot get it out of your mind? So I went to the yoga center, Montreal, to check it out. And that's how I learned about mantra and so on. I started to do yoga asanas there regularly. And then I went to Nassau, Bahamas retreat for Easter. At that time, Swamiji organized, Swamiji means Swami Vishnu-devananda, the founder. He organized a symposium, what happened to the world in the 21st century, something like that. So he's very interested in the condition of our world, peace of the world. He's a missionary for peace. So then he invited many people from different fields, of knowledge, many bright and brilliant people, and they talk about what they're concerned about the world, And then Swamiji spoke. And when he spoke, I realized this man has a lot of knowledge. At that time, only it clicked, the second time visit. Then I thought to myself, wow, I will follow him just to learn, because I know this man has something. So that's how I started. Yeah.
And So you started right away with Swamiji, with Vishnu-devananda.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah, I was initiated without me planning or knowing in that same weekend in Bahamas. Somebody approached me and said, "Do you want to have a mantra?" Which is not something that we approach the guest normally, but it's something unusual. So then I say, "No. You want to have a mantra?" "Yes." And at that time I fasted for 3 days and I didn't know how to fast. I think something was pushing me. So I was fasting, which is perfect to prepare for mantra initiation.
What is a mantra? Because not all our viewers know what a mantra is.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Mantra is a sacred sound formula. Like when you repeat it, then it brings your thought vibration to a high wavelength. So it makes you feel good, it gives you energy, gives you concentration, and eventually give you self-realization, which is the understanding of the truth that is behind your mind. Yeah, so the realization of your true self, that is not what your mind says who you are. Something like that. And so mantra initiation is when the teacher, the spiritual teacher, pass on that information to you.
Yes. And you were mentioning the mantra and self-realization, and I understand that Swami Vishnu-devananda was sent by Swami Sivananda to the West to precisely talk about self-realization. Did you get to meet Swami Sivananda sometime? Or not?
No. Swami Sivananda, he's a different time period. He was born 1887. He left his body 1963. Swami Vishnu-devananda, he came to the West in 1957. He came actually to the Bay Area first, and then he go
San
East
Francisco,
Coast.
correct? That
San
was the first time.
Francisco, correct, yeah. Then after he go to East Coast, and then after he go to Canada. I met him, I come from Vietnam, and somehow I end up meeting him in Canada, in the snow of Canada, which is a little strange. You know, it's we call it the coincidence, but it's not really coincidence. Looking back then, I believe that it is preordained, that somehow I have to leave Vietnam to go to Canada, meet him, who is an Indian teacher from South India, Himalaya, and meet him in Canada. So there's a lot of mystery about our life, but the beginning of of my life and the meeting of the teacher and is quite fantastic. So I got that special meeting, the mantra, so on, in the beginning of my journey, my second visit, without any introduction, and that changed my life. Yeah, completely. Because the wavelength, you can say about thought wavelength, the vibration we said, or the thought wavelength that you encounter in this moment, or the energy is fantastic. It leads you to go very deep within, and you know, it's like you remember your past, because in yoga philosophy say that you did not start only in this life, that you have started in the past, and then circumstances will lead you to meet again with your teacher and to start again from where you left off from past life. Because I was born, my mother gave me the name Sita, which is an Indian name, a spiritual name, and it's not a Vietnamese name. So and she has 9 children, and I'm only one that follow yoga, only one that have an Indian name. So it's some kind of, we call it karma, or preordained kind of something.
I see there were some things that were, yes, in the books already for you.
Something like that.
Now, Swami, you are talking about mantra, you're talking about self-realization, and you're talking about following a guru, a master, someone who is your inspiration. And as we know, this is not the way that yoga is practiced in the United States, or not mostly, let's say. It is practiced in that way as well, but not mostly. What are the advantages of practicing yoga in this way that you're telling us about?
That's an advantage. I believe that you touch not only your mind and your physical health, but you touch the spirit. I don't know how to say it. It's like you feel that it touches your soul. And you feel that you go back home, you know, and you feel very good. So that's all I can say.
That's a
you know.
beautiful
It's
way of putting it.
very complete in
Yes.
itself.
Yes. Do you think that practicing yoga, perhaps without the guidance of a guru, it's also beneficial anyway?
With the guru, it's like the guru would serve you, let's say like you have a buffet and you have a lot of food and you don't know what to eat because you want to eat everything. So with the guru already know what you need and they pick and choose and put in the plate and even put in your mouth. So he spoon feed you with the knowledge already pre-arranged, pre-cooked, you know what you need. So it's easier.
Beautiful image. Thank you. Thank you. Swami Vishnu-devananda founded this organization, the Sivananda Yoga Vedanta Centers, which, if I'm not wrong, the Canada one is the most important one. But
Canada
of course,
is where he was living, as the headquarters.
I see. Now, what are some of the principles of the centers, shared by the centers?
Well, we follow the philosophy we call Vedanta, which is the philosophy of unity in diversity. That means we accept people from different background, different culture, different language, different age group, different social background, different walks of life. But everyone is joining in the same spirit. So yoga is being union. So the ashram is open, and we see people as the own self, the self. Yeah? So we see people from inside. We don't ask people, for example, what you're doing. Yeah? So people just come and they
You mean
they
in
learn
terms
yoga.
of work or
Yeah,
yes.
work or their life or are they married or not. You know, eventually we know them, but it's not the condition for acceptance. So there is that. And we teach them, you know, the 4 principles, the 4 yoga paths. We call it selfless service, devotional, devotional life, how to channel your emotions to higher wavelength. We teach them how to control the mind, how to calm the mind, and how to find peace, starting with, you know, how to find peace with the body and the emotions, the mind. So there's a lot of techniques of yoga, positive thinking. And then we teach them the self-inquiry methods, which is the philosophical approach to yoga. So Swami Vishnu-devananda is he combines everything in 5 points, 5 principles that all the centers, Sivananda Yoga Vedanta centers, teach. He call it the 5 principles for health, not only mental, physical, but also spiritual. Is he call it proper exercise, which is the asana system, proper breathing, which is the pranayama system, proper relaxation, which is the savasana, and you know, the surrendering, and then the proper diet, which is the vegetarian diet, very important, and then the last one is positive thinking and meditation. But basically, that's the 5 principles that we teach.
That are shared.
Yeah.
And of course, I would think that the life at the ashram is intended to exhibit these principles or to offer
Correct.
those coming. Like, for example, I know this weekend you have had a beginners yoga, so people are coming to a tour and practice a few techniques and hear part of the philosophy. But in general, that's the idea of the ashram, correct?
That's
to
correct,
practice
yeah.
these principles.
Yeah. And in Sivananda ashram of Swami Vishnu-devananda, he gave the name Sivananda to his ashram, even though Swami Sivananda never came to the West. but he's one of the senior disciples of Master Sivananda, and he used the name of Sivananda. So he taught the 5 principles and the 4 paths of yoga, but through a specific daily schedule, and that is very specific. You get up at 6 in the morning with the sunrise, you meditate, you chant, you do your listen to lectures, and then you have 2 yoga classes a day, including relaxation, concentration, and the 12 basic postures and the breathing exercise. And then we have the 2 meals, 2 vegetarian meals, the brunch one at 10 and then the dinner at 6. So it's very balanced kind of schedule. Meditation, asana class, and then meal, and then workshop afternoon or free time, and then again, asana class, meal, and then meditation, chanting, and go to bed.
Yeah.
So with that regime, everyone go through that. People get a lot of benefit out of that because it's balanced.
Now you've been talking about the positive thinking and the emotions management or understanding of the emotions as an important part, and I also understand that you're well versed in the ways in which psychology and yoga mix. So I wanted to take the opportunity to ask you some words about this. How do they combine? How do they relate, yoga and psychology?
Yoga and psychology is 100% relating to each other. Much, yeah. Because yoga means union between who you think you are, your individual soul, and they call the cosmic self or the true self. Yeah? And that which stands in between is the mind. So yoga teach you how to understand your own mind in order for you to transcend the mind. So it's just not normal psychology. Normal psychology is you understand your mind to understand yourself. But yoga psychology is you understand the mind to understand that it's not yourself. To understand that there is something beyond the mind, but you have to understand the mind in order to work with the mind, in order for you to transcend the mind.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes when Western practitioners want to access yoga, they encounter the somehow perhaps absolutist or total way in which some of the yogic truths are expressed. And for example, we have heard many times, we are not the body, we are not the mind. Then on the other hand, we have heard some of the important texts saying, we are the mind, the body, and the spirit all together. How do we solve this? Do you have some words about that?
Swami Vishnu-devananda, the way how he taught it very gradually. You cannot go to a new beginner in yoga to say, you are not the body, you are not the mind. When they come, just to know their body more, know their mind more, and being more healthy. So you have to start first with this asana technique and breathing exercise and some concentration technique, positive thinking techniques. And then naturally when the mind and the body calm down, then naturally there will be some kind of inner question that will come about who am I, what is the spirit, what is life, what is death, this deeper philosophical question. Then at that time, in that context only, you can say, you are more than the body, you are more than the mind. The body and your mind actually are your instruments. So we don't negate the body and mind. It's very important to take care of body and mind, but don't identify yourself with it because you are more than that.
Correct. Don't identify yourself only with it.
Yeah. It's like you drive a car. You don't think that you are Toyota, you are Japanese and you are worth $10,000.
Yes.
You drive a car, you don't take the qualities of the car upon yourself.
Yes.
You are the driver.
Yes.
Yeah.
So context is very important, and levels of depth when you can reveal some of these important truths.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Yoga had spread in the world tremendously. Probably from the times when you first met Vishnu-devananda, or when I started yoga, it was somehow popular, but not like now. What do you think is one important, I'm sure you have many, but what would you name as one important message, one important piece of information that yoga has for the modern world?
Well, I think the message of unity in diversity, because yoga now transcends borders. Yoga is being taught everywhere, and I teach yoga also in Vietnam, Taiwan, Asia. We teach yoga in Japan and Thailand and in many countries that before yoga was not taught at all. So yoga become a spiritual movement, and it transcends religions. Yoga is being a method, so everyone can apply, independent from their religious background. And it's a technique, so you can practice it, and then whatever that is, within, will reveal by itself. You do not need to name it or to label it. So that's why yoga is so universal. It's you even though you don't say that it's a spiritual movement, but it's just a yoga. Yeah, but if you practice yoga correctly, with the proper spirit of turning inward, being quiet, of slowly performing the postures of breathing, of concentration, turning inward, you get the result. So it brings you peace of mind. So I believe yoga is help this modern world to unite. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And the philosophy of yoga is the philosophy of unity in diversity. So to accept and to honor and respect the differences, and at the same time to realize that we are one in essence. So I think it's a very important gift of yoga to the world. And may I add something, is the aspect of the prana, the psychic teaching of yoga. Because yoga bring in the teaching on energy and how energy influences the mind. And how, when you work with your energy, your mind changes. So I think this is very important.
Especially at times where our minds are pretty troubled and engaged and with a lot of
distracted,
things. And distracted,
yeah.
Correct. Swami Sita, I am sure that we could continue this conversation, and in fact I do look forward to returning to the ashram sometime and being able to interview you again. And I thank you both for the invitation to come to the ashram and for being willing to speak with me and with our audience today.
Thank you. I am glad.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Away from the busyness of our modern life, the Yoga Farm holds true to the yoga tradition, offering practitioners a taste of how yoga, more than a weekly practice, is a way of life. I hope you liked our show today. And if you care to let me know, shoot me an email at antonio@yogiviews.com. I look forward to seeing you the next time.